from Just Tutors, and in today's video we are going to learn about equivalent fraction. So the main subtopics which we are going to cover in this video are equivalent fractions, like and unlike fractions, and then we'll talk about comparing like fractions. Let's move forward. So here are a few warm-up questions for you. You can please pause the video and try the given questions, and once you are done you can resume it after to check your answers. We'll pat you back if all of your answers are correct, and now let's move forward and let's have a quick discussion about equivalent fraction. So we can say that fractions which are same are called equivalent fraction. Basically they look different but they are exactly same in size. Let's try to understand the concept of equivalent fraction with the help of an example. So let's assume that Ram and Kareem have one pizza each. If you talk about Ram's pizza, that has been divided into two equal parts, and Kareem's pizza has been divided into 4 equal parts. Let's say that Ram had one slice out of those 2 slices of the pizza, so the fraction will be 1/2. I'll just write it down there for you. And the fraction for Kareem's share would be 2/4 because he is getting 2 slices out of total number of slices which are 4, so the fraction is 2/4. Now if you compare between these 2 sizes here, so we can work out they're actually the same. So that's an example of equivalent fraction because the fractions look somewhere different but they're exactly the same in size. Now let's move forward and let's try to understand that concept with the help of a diagram here. So if you look at the fraction for the shaded part, it is 1/4 because one of the part is shaded out of total number of parts, which is 4. Now if you think to divide each part into 2 equal parts, by drawing a horizontal line, you'll get another fraction which will be 2/8 because now 2 parts are shaded out of total number of parts, which is 8. Let's go one step ahead and think that if you divide each section into 3 equal parts, and for that we'll need 2 horizontal lines. So now the total number of shaded parts are 3 out of 12, so the fraction is 3/12. If you think of comparing that a quarter, 2/8 and 3/12, you'll get to know that they're actually the same size, however they look different, and therefore these 3 fractions are equivalent to each other. Now let's move forward and let's talk about equivalent fraction using multiplication. So when you times the numerator and denominator by the same number, then we get an equivalent fraction. For example, here we started with the fraction 3/5 and you times both the numerator and the denominator by 3. So the fraction which you got here, 9/15, that's equivalent to 3/5. The same way if you talk here, we started with a fraction which was 4/7. So we times the numerator and the denominator, both of them with the 2, and the fraction which you got, 8/14, that is equivalent to 4/7. Now let's pause the video and have a few questions for you. Take your time and give it a try. So in the first question you can see that you're timesing 4 with the 5 to get a 20. So the same thing we need to do at the bottom, so you'll times the 7 with the 5 as well, which will give you 35. The same way in the next question we are timesing 8 with the 6 to get a 48. And that's why we have times the numerator with a 6 as well. Now let's move forward and let's talk about equivalent fraction using division. So in this case what you'll do is you'll divide both the numerator and denominator with the same number. So here we started with 15/18, and if you divide both the numerator and denominator with the 3, you'll get a fraction which is 5/6, which is equivalent to 15/18. Let's take a pause and try the given questions, and I hope that you'll do it really well. We'll pat you back if all of your answers are correct, and now let's move forward and let's talk about like and unlike fractions. So if you talk about like fractions, we can say the fractions which has got the same denominators, they're called like fractions. And if I talk about unlike fraction, so pair of fractions which has got different denominator, like you can see in this case, they're called unlike fractions. There's a quick question for you here. Let's think of writing one pair of like fraction and a pair of unlike fractions. So in case of like fraction, think of any pair which has got the same denominator, and for unlike fraction you can think of any pair which has got different denominators. Now let's move forward towards the next slide and let's talk about comparing like fraction. So if I talk about comparing like fraction, What we need to do is we need to compare that with the help of numerators because the denominators are already the same. What you can do is the first step is to arrange them. So we have arranged them here from the smallest to the largest, and now we can easily compare between the fractions. Here's a quick question for you, so let's try it together. First step is to arrange the fractions from like the smallest to the biggest. So let's go for it. So here 5/17 is the smallest fraction and 12/17 is the biggest fraction. Now let's move forward. So here are a few practice time questions for you. You can please pause the video and try the given questions, and once you are done you can resume it after to check your answers. Well, congratulations if all of your answers are correct, and thank you for watching this video. For more, please visit justtutors.com.